All right, guys, you need to finish your notes this weekend and be ready to do some application or some more practice with algebraic equations and expressions with parallel lines. So this is what we did on Friday. If you weren't here, please get this caught up. We highlighted the key um, angle type or angle pair, and then we filled in the missing parts. If you do not have a copy, please just get this drawn and copy into your spiral. You can print this off, I believe, in your notes folder. So alternate interior angles, they're just a recap, they're between the inside of the parallel lines. I went ahead and marked those to show 1 and 4 is congruent and 2 and 3 are congruent. Remember, they are also opposite sides of the transversal. And so we went ahead and they gave us an example, and we had to mark to show that this expression was in between the parallel lines and they were on the opposite sides of the transversal. So the equation was our 8x minus 19 equals 6x plus 11. So go ahead and get this copied or make sure this is in your notes if you did not do so. The other one we did in class was alternate x tier. The x tier of the parallel lines are above and below the outside of the parallel lines. They're on opposite sides of the transversal, and they are also congruent. So we listed the examples in the diagram to the right, which were 1 and 4. Could go ahead and mark those. So I could put an arc at 1, an arc with 4, and then a double arc with 2 because it's different than 1, and a double arc at 3. Okay, so that's just showing it with the arcs to show that congruent angle measurements. So this is an example of alternate exterior angles congruent. So we had to write 7x plus 16 equals to 4x plus 20. And then we're going to solve for x. So our next step should have been here, because I believe we didn't finish this, was plus 16 plus 16. We will get 3x equals 36. And then we're going to solve for x by dividing by 3. By 3, so x equals 12. Okay, so all of these we're going to expect you to write the equation and then solve for x. And then eventually you plug back in to solve for the angle. So here is what we need to add on. Pause the video if you need to get the information that goes in the lines. But if we're talking about consecutive interior angles, this is the same thing as same side interior angles. And I'm just going to abbreviate that, which we call SSI. Same side interior angles are supplementary, which means they equal to 180. So they need to be on the same side of the transversal in between the parallel lines. An example of that would be looking at angle 1 here is on the left side, and 3 is on the left side. They're in between the parallel lines. So angle 1 plus angle 3 will equal to 180. Okay, and then 3 and 2 are alternate interior, so they would need to have the same marking, and 4 would need to have the same marking as 1. So I can say angle 2 plus angle 4 equals 180. All right, so in our example, our algebraic expression, application of that, they want you to see that this 5x plus, or 5x minus 9 represents that angle there on the right side, and the 4x plus 10 is the obtuse angle. And together they would be supplementary. So our equation we would use would be 5x minus 19 plus 4x plus 10 equals 180. And so in this equation, we're going to first have to combine our like terms. We got 5x and we got plus 4x, so that's going to give me a total of 9x. And then we also have minus 19 plus 10 is going to leave me with minus 9. And so that is going to equal to 180. Now we're going to solve for x by isolating it. And we would just need to add 9 to both sides. The 9's on the left side would cancel out, leaving this 9x remaining equals to 189. And then we would divide by 9 on both sides. And so x equals 21. And that is our answer. So there's our example for consecutive interior or same side interior. So please get that done. Our next one is dealing with corresponding angles. So I went ahead and highlighted that. Corresponding angles, you have one above and below the parallel line and between the parallel lines, but they have to be on the same side. Corresponding angles are going to be congruent. So if I'm on the same side, if I'm looking on my left side, 1 is above the parallel line, and 5 is also above the parallel line. So those would be corresponding. So they're congruent. So we have a couple sets here. We got angle 1 is congruent to angle 5. Hopefully we see that angle 3 is congruent to angle 7 because both of those are below the line. Okay, two arcs right there because it's different. And then we also have angle 2 is congruent to angle 6, and angle 4 is congruent to angle 8. So in our example here, we're hoping you to recognize that this 10x minus 26 is above the line on the right side, and 7x plus 40 is above the line on the right side of the transversal. So these are corresponding angles, which would be congruent. So this will help me write my equation. Congruent is the same thing as equal. So 10x minus 26 equals 7x plus 40. And so we're going to solve for x. Start with our smallest variable. Do that, I would minus the 7x. That would cancel out, leaving me with 3x minus 26 equals 40. And then to isolate my x term, my 3x, I'm going to do the opposite of minus 26, which would be plus 26. So that would leave me with 3x equals 66. And then when you divide by 3 on both sides, so that the coefficient will cancel out, x equals 22. So that is your example with corresponding. And then our last page, page 3, is just reviewing the same angle pairs that we're going to use. You're still going to do them to problem solve because they exist on parallel lines as well. You have vertical angles, which are basically across diagonal or across the intersection of a parallel line and a transversal. And it shows only a vertex. So I have a look at my vertex. I could see that 2 and 3 are vertical, and 1 and 4 are vertical. Okay, I know you're pretty much familiar with that, so let's just go ahead and list the ones we see. We got 1 is congruent to 4, 2 is congruent to 3, 5 hopefully you see is congruent to 8, 6 is congruent to 7. And so we're still going to use those relationships to help us problem solve, excuse me. So on this equation here, we should have 12x plus 8 is equal to 16x minus 32. That's the first thing I'm going to check when we're giving you partial credit, that you write the equation. And then to solve for x, we're going to start with the smallest variable. So that's now minus 12x. Minus 12x. 12x will cancel out, leaving us with 8 equals 4x minus 32. And now to isolate my 4x, since it's minus 2, 32, I'm going to do the opposite, plus 32. Plus 32, always do the inverse, so it can cancel out. So this will leave me with 40 equals 4x, and then hopefully you can see x equals 10 if you divide by 4. So you're still going to be responsible for recognize vertical and write the equations for vertical, and you're going to be responsible for linear pair. Okay, go ahead and fill in our descriptions for that. Adjacent, remember adjacent is dealing with next to. They're next to each other. Across the parallel line and it's transversal, they'll share a side and vertex. So on our linear pair is supplementary, they equal 180. So some of the examples, not all, there's just some. I could be looking at my acute with angle 1 and my obtuse with angle 2. They share the horizontal line and they share the transversal, the line between them. So I can have angle 1 plus angle 2 equals 180. Or if I wanted to, I know 1 and 4 are vertical. I can look at just the right side using the transversal and the parallel line. So I could say 2 and 4 are 180. Another pair would come down to the bottom lines, 5 and 6, 180, and 6 and 8, 180. There are more than this, okay? But just make sure that you recognize that they form a line, okay? They are sharing a side and a vertex. And so here we have an example. Here we have our acute angle and our obtuse angle. So our equation here should be our 3x plus 14 plus 5x minus 34 equals 180. Now, when we're adding, we're going to have to combine like terms because we have 3x plus 5x. That's going to give me a total of 8x. And then I have a positive 14 because it's plus 14 and a negative 34. So basically I'm saying 14 minus 34 will leave me with a negative 20. And that's going to equal to our 180. So when I solve for x, I'm now going to add 20 to both sides. So the 20 can cancel out, leaving me with 8x equals now 200. And then when I divide by 8, we will have x equals 25. Okay, so that takes care of your notes. Thank you for taking care of this. I will be stamping your spirals and checking to make sure they're completed. And we're going to go straight into some practice on Monday. Have a great weekend.